Now, I'm pleased to see so many graduates who are here today and their families who chose to celebrate this moment with you. Graduates, you all are simply beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. What a rich array of faces among the graduates and their families. I know a few students who are with us today are the first in their family to go to college, and many of those families who have sacrificed so much for them to be here have joined them. So I think graduates, you need to recognize your family and friends and supporters who are here today. Give them a clap. Now, I admit, I don't know all 1,059 of you who are walking across the stage today. But let me tell you a few things about a few of the students that I do know something about. I know several students like Michael Gibson, who is completing a 4-year apprenticeship program as an HVAC technician. At 36 years old, he is graduating with a 3.9 GPA and working full-time. But here's what I really love. He came back to school in part, he said, to show his 2 children how much they can achieve. That's the legacy of education. I know that some graduates today who didn't grow up in the US, like Wendy Mejia Aguilar, who came from El Salvador 5 years ago, graduated from Kennedy High School. She is an ACES student and has won a full scholarship to complete her bachelor's degree. I know Shayar Shagatashbi, who is an Iranian refugee who is graduating with an associate's degree in computer science. I know Taijis Mahinda, who is originally from Ethiopia and started taking classes through our workforce development and continuing education classes so that she could run her own childcare business. She is graduating today with her associate's degree and posted her 3.75 GPA on her refrigerator so that her 3 children would know what she expected of them. She told them, quote, "You need to beat this GPA because English is not my native language and it's yours." I know that we have many students here today who grew up right here in Montgomery County and saw something exceptional in Montgomery College, be it a STEM program or an honors program or a humanities course of study. And they took advantage of the educational excellence in their own backyard. In fact, we have 14 students who are graduating today with their high school diploma and their associate's degree at the same time. That's what I call ambition. These stories may seem very different, but they all share 2 common elements: persistence and courage. From my own experience, I know that going to college provokes a great amount of fear for me. Like many of today's graduates, I was the first in my family to complete a college degree, so I was quite intimidated by academics. I was worried about the cost, and I was anxious about balancing job responsibilities and my studies. I had to convince my father to apply for financial aid, which he didn't understand and didn't trust. For some of today's graduates, they were also taking care of families or struggling with immigration status or even learning English as a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th language. All of these are real challenges that would have stopped many students. Instead, each of our graduates today chose to face your fear. You quieted that siren song that says, "Maybe this is too hard." You turned away those voices And sometimes in your own head, you had to silence them, and you said instead, maybe I'm not good enough to be in college. On a day like today, it is easy to wave the victory flag and say, fear has been conquered. It can seem so black and white, but if we're very honest about our journeys, there's probably a lot of gray in that. Each of you had to choose to wrestle with your fear. Instead of dwelling on your own doubts, you asked for help. Instead of focusing on the risk, you invested in the possibilities. You looked for solutions, for support, for people, for hope. You had to step out every day when you weren't sure that there was a net below you to catch you. What you should have learned from this is that these decisions changed who you are. Doers are people who feel fear but push through it. At their best, they use fear to their advantage, to plan intentionally, to envision a better future, and to look for friends and allies. These are productive and useful outcomes of fear. If you took away any of those steps to get through your journey, the courage that you have shown today to be here and the grit that you have practiced to be in this very spot is a real story of your accomplishment today. Although you may not realize it, you are now poised to be leaders. This doesn't mean that you have to run for elected office, but as our former county executive, Ike Leggett, recently said to me, you can now be a voice for hope. You can now be someone who rejects fear when you bear it and hear it in your own mind, or in the voices around you in the workplace, or in your neighborhood, or in political rhetoric. Many of you probably came here just to earn a degree or certificate, but your journeys, both intellectual and personal, have transformed you in ways that go far beyond this space and place. Let me tell you why this matters. If you've been paying attention at all, you've noticed that fear has gained a foothold in our nation's political psyche. Some leaders today revel in telling us how dire the conditions are in our nation. They sometimes make up crises in order to enhance insecurity. Then once fear is fully inflamed, then they tell us who we ought to blame for it. It's no surprise that they tend to blame people who don't look like them, who speak other languages, or who were born in other countries, who have some difference about them. Mr. Ike Leggett, who spent decades building a diverse county that is welcoming of all, recently made a comment that has been powerful for me, and I think about it almost every day as I think about this work that we do. He said, quote, "Fear allows people to be manipulated. Fear can lead us to do something we otherwise would not do. Instead of being fearful, we should be hopeful." On a day that is so full of promise and hope, I want you to carry that perspective into your next chapter. You are already the embodiment of courage. Your very presence here today means that you have embraced your next chapter. Now I challenge you to take that one step further. Call out fear when you see it being used to divide people or to limit opportunity. Refuse to be hobbled by sentiments and narrow vision. Use your accomplishments and your experiences as lights that drive out fear in others. When I look around this audience today, I see the antithesis of fear. I see students who have learned to cultivate diversity, not breed suspicion around difference. I see faculty who model compassion and character. I see staff members who practice inclusion and integrity. I see families in this audience who understand the opportunity that is profoundly found in collaborative effort. They know that supporting one member who is taking courageous steps toward their future benefits us all. And I see a community in Montgomery County that rejects the fear that drives discrimination and instead models acceptance and aspiration. As Mr. Leggett said recently, true leaders will use hope to bring people together. Not only are you graduates of Montgomery College today, you are true leaders, and you cannot help but become hope for all of us. We need you to be that hope for all of us. Class of 2019, congratulations.